Hello, and welcome to the Anime Explorations podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm Tora.
I'm David.
Alright, and so, since our last episode, the anime season has wrapped up. So, I watched a moderate amount of stuff this season. Some pretty good stuff. So watched Furin Journey's End, and Apothecary Diaries, both of which are still going into next season, which is great. Also, we had the sequel series to Initial D this year, MF Ghost, which is actual track race. Well, no, it's street tracks, but it's actual lap racing as opposed to just drifting, but still just as much Eurobeat.
I mean, when something works, why change it?
That's fair. Do you watch anything interesting over the past month?
We've been watching Haikyuu.
Yes. We just finished the second season. It's absolutely not new. And it is very infuriating because it's one of those actual volleyball would be faster than this. We watched that. Jujutsu Kaisen, of course.
Not sure if it counts, but shout out to Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix.
Yeah.
It probably counts some.
I also started watching Uku, The Inner Chambers last night. Interesting. Kind of reminds me of Why the Last Man in some ways. But yeah, I'll let you know when I finish it.
All right, that is on my two watch list, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, I have not had as much time to watch with all the holiday shenanigans going on. But, yeah, seems good. I know there's more that we've watched.
David, you watched a bunch of isekai.
Oh, that's true.
Just so much.
Yeah.
Shield Hero, you watched.
Yeah, well, yeah. Bryson, we were talking about since, last month. Because it's only been, a few new episodes of that since.
And of course, we've been keeping up with Jujutsu Kaisen and, our weekly dose of trauma. Yep.
So,
so much trauma.
One of the slight advantages to having such a quick turnaround between when these episodes are recorded and when they go live is occasionally we get to talk about topical news. So, Macross 2 Kickstarter is currently live.
I saw that, and my initial reaction was, I still have my VHS.
Is this the Palladium Books VHS, or, because Palladium Books, as in the people who did Riffs, did the VHS release of that for a time?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know because I didn't go and look at it.
You have to dig it out.
Yeah. That was my memory. I was I still have my VHS. How old is that? Yeah. Good old Macross 2.
Yep. So it is, as of this recording, it's 15 days left to go. Had a goal of $75,000 and has raised $255,000 and change. So it has, in fact, it met its goal on the first day.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, this is one of the Animego Kickstarters. So, lots of good features on here. They've confirmed they've got the dub. Got 2 audio commentaries on there. Production staff commentary and voice actor commentary. All sorts of fun stuff. Art book add-in. Yeah.
To be clear, it has nothing to do with Palladium Books, right?
That is correct. It does nothing. This is strictly Animego on this.
Good. They have earned my undying enmity.
Yep.
After Robotech RPG Tactics and the betrayal therein, they have earned my enmity.
Yeah. So this is strictly Animego. This is just them, and they have done right by all of their Kickstarters that they've done so far, all of which I've backed. So, yeah, I'm on board for this. So I will, and again, by the time this goes live, there will be about 2 weeks left. So I'll stick a link in the show notes for that. And with that, let's start. So let's start out with the anime music video discussion. So quick summary before I bring this up is this is the last episode of the year, and we've had a lot of people in the anime industry and adjacent to it pass away this past year. And one of the people who passed away was John. We pull up the exact name of the person who did it. Jim Kapostas. Greek last name. I have difficulty with those. Who created the first of anime music videos, a fan created music video, splicing together scenes from Star Blazers to the song "All You Need Is Love" by the Beatles. And for those who follow the blog, I put together a playlist of like what I would consider early or various influential anime music videos over time, and some notes on why I picked them. So, did you have a chance to watch the playlist I put together, or flip through it?
Oh yeah, I loved it. It was a trip, because some of these things I had not thought about since high school or early college years. And it was very nostalgic for me. And then some of them I hadn't seen, and I was like, oh, that's where that trend came from. That was very cool.
Yeah.
And it's trippy for me to have, how do I want to put this? To have fandom be curated like this and kind of looked back on in a, not exactly scholarly, but a kind of a historical sort of sense. Like
retrospective.
Yeah, retrospective. Like, this is how the fandom evolved. And having been a part of that fandom, I just find it incredibly, incredibly trippy. Makes me feel a little bit old, but
seasoned.
But also, it's so cool to have come from a place of searching for anime in tiny, like, video rental stores here in Portland and finding nobody who knew about it or was interested in it and wanted to talk about it outside of one or two really good friends, to the modern day where, like, everybody is at least aware of it, even if they are not, active fans of it, and have the art form really go global.
Yeah, like to the point where you have NFL players who will do as their touchdown celebration, do the fusion dance.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. But yeah, like a few of these I wanted to single out. I'd almost, but not quite forgotten, the video for Matthew Sweet's Girlfriend. In terms of like I had seen music videos from around this time incorporate some anime stuff. Like, for example, there's the music video for Michael and Janet Jackson's Scream, where they like put a whole bunch of incorporate a bunch of clips from anime of people screaming. Not hard to find. In there. And so, but this was although this is like basically incorporating Matthew Sweet, the vocalist of the song, into the footage in an interesting way, as opposed to some of the other his other video that he'd done for the song "I'll Be Waiting," which has Lum from Urusei Yatsura in it, but doesn't quite incorporate him or his band in the song in quite the same way.
Is it interesting for you too as a video creator? Because it's interesting for me as an artist to look at how people like us were kind of motivated to do these things out of fandom or just for fun. And then over time, we just like picked up all of these video editing and artistic skills, and it became just so like, I don't want to say competitive, although in some areas of the internet, obviously it is competitive, but like the quality of the work just went up so high to the point where like I think I had some friends in art school who were using AMVs on their like professional reels, like resumes, like.
I mean, AMV competitions are absolutely a thing.
Yeah.
Like I definitely get that. It's like I was considering adding it as like a one last final thing after KimuraCon this year, but there was like a video that won Best in Show at KimuraCon. Video title was "Don't Stop the Rock" or "Can't Stop the Rock," and the video is effectively like truly its own thing. Like it is incorporating elements from various anime series and movies, like Girl Who Leapt Through Time and Nichijou and various other things, but it is combining them and looping footage in such a way that it is effectively uniquely its own work of art. Though I was certainly aware of like the professional link between anime music video creation and other fields before this. One of the videos, another video I considered using but did not use, was a video of somebody doing using one of the different mixes of Juno Reactor's Pistolero to footage from Cowboy Bebop. And the person who had done this particular video commented, "Oh, I worked on editing one of the trailers for Robert Rodriguez Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and that's how I heard the song."
That's how I became aware of that song. That's a good song,
though. Yeah. And like, in particular, like this particular mix, because he'd gotten like given the album, like here's the album with like 3 or 4 different remixes on it, like the single version, as opposed to like the full album. And like, okay, and heard this mix, like, okay, this isn't the mix we're using for the trailer, but this is a good mix. I can make an AMV to it. And so so like the nice, interesting touch there. And of course, I had to make sure to include a Linkin Park video in there because like Mike Shinoda again has mentioned in interviews that when we were getting big, like when our Meteora came out and that sort of thing, like or the first couple albums, that this was around the time that AMVs were starting to become more widespread over the internet, and so lots of people started doing AMVs using their songs.
I mean, to the best of my knowledge, they're still the only band that has a tie-in Gundam for one of their albums.
You guys can't see me, but I'm just nodding my head like a crazy parrot right now. Linkin Park, my favorite band for most of my life. Rest in peace, Chester, forever. And like in high school, I can't overstate how much I was into Linkin Park, and I read all these interviews that Mike Shinoda did, and he talked about his design background and how he was coming up with the graphics for their albums, and I was like on fire with that. I was so excited. I found a lot of AMVs just because like I was watching their songs on YouTube, looking up music videos and stuff like that. So, I mean...
Well, if it was high school, it's before YouTube.
You know what? I refuse to be cringe about this. I am a fan. Their songs go with a lot of anime, though. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Sheer number of Linkin Park Evangelion anime videos.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. Like I did think really hard, like, do I want to do one of the Linkin Park Evangelion videos? Like go through and find a particularly good one.
There's just so many.
Yeah, like
if we're not gonna do that, dude, that definitely frees up.
And then I thought, well, because of how wide, like the number of series it works with, maybe do a compilation video in terms of like one where it's got like using clips from multiple shows, which is what I did use. And I think the only main reason why I did like New Divide as opposed to like there's an instrumental one that got used a fair amount as well is because we tragically lost Chester Bennington a couple years ago, and so I wanted to focus on his vocals as opposed to an instrumental version. The other thing I found particularly interesting in terms for picking stuff on here is like when Adobe After Effects like started becoming more spread as part of the Adobe Creative Suite. Is one of the things that it did is people started like really got more advanced and people learning the ropes with it is both more interesting, like complicated videos in terms of combining series together in interesting ways, which is what happened with why I picked the Ship Happens video. And then also using like manga music videos, which was also like I had seen a couple music videos done using like comics, but those were like just like Ken Burns affecting through scanned or photographed comic pages. But this incorporates the work a little better, and does more and allows for transitioning between panels and characters in more interesting ways. Like, so I was torn between doing the one I did, which was Clover.
Yeah, the Clover one. Man, if there was ever a manga that was begging for that treatment, that was beautiful.
Yeah, and there was another one that was done for Promised Neverland, which I thought was like my second pick, but I decided to stick with the Clover one first because it was a little earlier, so I felt it would kind of show the transition in time a little better.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
All right. And with that, well, the other high-profile anime creator who passed away this year, well, there's a couple of major ones, but like the other moderate one who passed away was the creator of Space Adventure Cobra, who we actually kind of managed to incorporate a little bit with the AMV video thing because Matthew Sweet's girlfriend used footage from the Space Adventure Cobra movie. But the other, and we will talk about Space Adventure Cobra properly at some point in the future. But the other major title, creator who passed away is Leiji Matsumoto, and he's done lots of really big stuff. He's done Star Blazers, or Space Battleship Yamato, rather. He's done Galaxy Express 39. He's done all sorts of stuff. But I decided to pick, because his most enduring character is Captain Harlock. And so I decided to pick, for this month, Arcadia of My Youth, which is the sort of Captain Harlock origin movie that came out in 1982. Had either of you seen this movie before?
No. No, I was familiar with Harlock. Never actually managed to see Harlock's show, but I was familiar with him primarily through all of the pastiches and rip-offs of him in other works. Either comedic or...
he's got an iconic look, let's be real. Yeah. It's everywhere. My favorite one is in Steven Universe.
I mean, Leiji Matsumoto characters have drip, let's be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this movie, I do not think, based purely on this movie, I do not think Harlock is a very heroic character. I think he's kind of... This movie feels like it is just dripping with subtext that I'm not quite getting.
So to possibly help pick up with some of that subtext, talk about Leiji Matsumoto. Matsumoto was born in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
So he was basically, like, his formative years were the U.S. occupation of Japan.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I mean, I didn't know anything about the man, but Tora can tell you that's kind of what I was sort of picturing as the creator behind this work, because it does feel like someone who, it feels like wish fulfillment after, the Japanese lost the war.
Yeah, well, it's awkward to talk about this as
an American,
especially. But there is quite a bit of, I guess, propagandism almost in the movie, but it's more of...
It has a heroic Nazi.
It's more of this kind of Mary Sue feeling of the protagonist is this noble warrior who lost, presumably through no fault of his own, but he has his honor and he's going to stick to it no matter what, even when that means making incredibly tactically unsound decisions.
Even when it means going against explicitly what he said he was going to do. I'm going to leave so I can rescue these people, but I'm going to wait around for, to make sure I can't actually rescue anyone.
And it's I don't feel qualified to discuss the concept of honor in Japanese culture. But even in just like the sports anime we were just watching, Haikyuu, there's a lot of talk about how, you have your pride, and your pride is worthless, but it's all you've got, so you better stick with it. And, it's this very, the romance of it, of honor and pride, even when the universe is against you. And I'm not behind that message personally, so it was a little bit awkward for me.
Also, there's just, if we're talking about honor, we do have to examine the different forms that honor takes, both internal honor of one's adherence to one's own personal beliefs, as well as external honor, and the two forms that can take, both horizontal and vertical. Horizontal honor being the honor you have for being among your own peers, basically being part of a group and your status within that group based on your own actions. And also the vertical honor of against other people, where, how your group is viewed. There's a lot to say about honor, and I could honestly talk about it.
A lot of anthropological study to unpack there.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that Harlock is a really romanticized character. And the connections to World War II in this movie are not subtext. They are overt. The movie literally flashes back to his ancestor, who was a World War II fighter pilot. So,
for Nazi Germany.
We're not being out there,
This is not, I wonder which side he's for. His plane has the swastika on it. It's got the Iron Cross in.
Here's the weird thing. So I watched the Blu-ray release, which has an audio commentary by Mike Toole, who longtime anime critic. He also hosts the Discotheque Media panels and that sort of thing. And he breaks down like what Matsumoto stories are kind of combined together to tell this. And so for one of the Matsumoto manga, the story that's incorporated this from the series The Cockpit, he which is the one from the beginning of the story, like the really far flashback involving the Stanley Witch, Owen Stanley Witch. So that's the World War. So in the manga form, that's the World War II story. And they split it into two different chunks, and then had one chunk be World War II wartime Europe, the other one in like pre-World War I, like just solo flight.
Which is interesting because that was not a pre-World War I plane that guy was flying.
Oh, so not pre-World War I, pre-World War II, like interwar period flight plane. And what made that interesting, the decision there is, the original story is Harlock the First, or Phantom Harlock the Second, and Tochiro Oyama had the premise for that one was them taking a stolen bomber full of refugees and trying to get them over the Owen Stanley Mountains to Port Moresby to defect to the Allies.
I think it's clear that is not the story we got at all.
No.
And what makes that particularly more...
That would definitely recontextualize the beginning of the film as well, when current Captain Harlock is transporting refugees.
And what makes this doubly more like odd, kind of head-scratching to an extent, I can kind of understand why they made this choice, because it might go from foreshadowing to giving away what'll happen later, is what happens with the refugees is the same thing that what happens with the Tokargan refugees later in the movie, in terms of them sacrificing themselves.
Throwing themselves out of the plane to make it over the mountains.
Yeah, and with them, and with like the climax of it being, we made it, and Tochiro going back to tell the refugees they made it, and then discovering an empty hold. and then being really sad and upset about it afterwards. And like that, if they'd gone with that, while again would give away what was going to happen later in the movie, it would, I think, have made skipped the whole tugging at the collar moment with that second flashback. In terms of the whole Nazi side of things.
Well, the first flashback where it's basically man versus nature, right?
It's not even a flashback. That's how the movie starts.
Right. That was just, I was just taking that as a very tropey. I mean, this comes up all the time. Like one man testing himself against nature and pitting himself against nature and seeing who comes out on top. I was like, okay, so this is kind of standard, right?
I mean, it's the classic literary conflicts: man versus nature, man versus man versus society, that
right.
sort of thing.
No problems there. Very standard. Went on a bit long, I felt. And then when the second flashback came around, I was like, okay, so they're making it explicit now. Like the connection to World War II is meant to be read into the movie. Because you could pick up on it, immediately, but then they decided to make it text in the film, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't have like this instinctive revulsion, like, oh, they've made a Nazi the hero of the story. Like that wasn't really the point. But I did think it interesting that they would make it, that they would just be like, yes, this story is about post-war. This is what you're meant to read into it. I guess what I'm saying is that the whole film was not subtle. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But it does make it kind of hard for me to talk about, because that is not a lived experience that I have. I don't feel qualified or that I have the right really to talk about that experience. All I can go off of is what I was presented in the film, right? So, and the whole time I was a little bit uncomfortable because, like, the romanticization of Harlock's character and the decisions that he makes, which the film is presenting as heroic, I was not on board with for most of the time. Like,
would it surprise you to know that Harlock is big in France?
No, actually, I can totally see that. So my grandmother was Belgian. I grew up with a lot of French speaking around me. I went to France in high school. I don't consider myself French or Belgian or anything but a normal, annoying, boring American. But from the exposure that I've had to French culture, I can see it. I can.
It was the Harlock series, like the original 1978 series, which I did not do because it's 52 episodes, got released in France under the title of Capitaine Albator, because Captain Harlock is just a little too close to Captain Haddock from Tintin or Tonton. So they yeah. So just adjust the name a little bit so it's not doesn't quite become unintentionally comic.
Makes sense. You don't want your tragic, romantic space pirate to be comedic, except when they're trying to be.
I will say the vibe I got from Harlock, I've always kind of had from Harlock and the various iterations of the character, is Captain Nemo in space.
Oh, yes, very much. I agree with that.
Like,
in vibes, anyway. Having not watched the actual show.
I mean, like both, like, because I've seen the original series. I've seen this movie. This is actually like my second or third time watching the movie. I watched the Harlock Endless Odyssey series from the 2000s, and I've watched Harlock's Saga, which is the Harlock versus Norse gods OVA series.
That's interesting.
Loosely, very loosely inspired by the Ring Cycle. And having watched the Nemo connection like very strong there, but in the sense of like if like you look at how Jules Verne writes Captain Nemo, they have a lot in common, both in terms of they're from occupied countries, India for Nemo, and then the Earth for Harlock. They have their crew of basically sort of pirates.
I mean, they're explicitly called pirates, so
Yeah, well, pirates, but like they're crew of pirates. They tend to be kind of stoic and reserved. We don't have much music instrument playing in this, but like in Harlock 78, Harlock's got an ocarina, and then Nemo, of course, has his pipe organ. And so forth and so on. And both have like really super advanced spaceships, or not spaceships, but ships. Nemo's super advanced submarine, the Nautilus, and then the Arcadia. So like it's a really interesting mix, and so I do get why Harlock has resonated to a lot of fans, and why the character became, the various works involving the character became a gateway series for American fans. But particularly in like the 70s and 80s. But I also do kind of see, as you mentioned in your comments, why even in our Leiji Matsumoto's later years, the character hasn't quite had the same staying power.
I think also there are a lot of narratives now that are about, like, sometimes explicitly pirates, but then also like other groups of outlaws, merry men, what have you, outside of society, because society doesn't accept them in some way, rejects them, and they band together and they're a family. And I mean, that's one of my favorite tropes.
The found family trope.
And you know, that is the part that I think a lot of people will kind of latch onto. I think if you grew up with Harlock and you start to understand more of the context that is informing the story choices, there is going to be a part of you that kind of, I guess, backs off of it a little bit. It's a very specific experience that the author is drawing from, that a lot of us are not going to have, especially in other countries. France has a big love of underdog narratives, going all the way back to the Resistance and, you know, the original Bucky. I get why it is so popular there. But I also think that it's almost too specific, and that's why it's going to start kind of not resonating as much with people as time goes on. Does that make sense? That it's too specific to that one person's experience.
Yeah. I mean, in order to get a larger audience, you do need to have more of a multiple appeal. And
so other works have taken what they like about the character, which is normally the costume, and the idea of this
pirate captain,
you know, kind of, pirate captain in space. Sometimes stoic, sometimes very not. And they just, you know, they put it onto their own works as homage. And that's kind of what's being propelled forward from the series. So I think most people, if you showed them a picture of Captain Harlock, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I kind of get that. Or I saw that in X show or Y movie. But all of this very specific post-war context, I think, is gonna get left behind, except for people who really dig into the source material.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I also think helped get a certain degree of resonance for Harlock, or in this case, Leiji Matsumoto as a creator in general, the way Leiji Matsumoto draws science fiction stuff in general is very unique. It's not like there's the sort of concept of quote Z-Rust of a throwback to a particular era of science fiction works and that sort of thing. You know, your cigar-shaped rocket ships, your big bulbous ray guns, the fishbowl helmets, and that sort of thing. Harlock isn't that. But it is deliberately nostalgic in its technology designs. Like, Harlock and Toshiro's ray guns, the Cosmo Dragoons, are designed to look like revolvers with a big thing sticking out the back. And then there's his spaceships. The Arcadia has an aft castle with a flag that flutters in space.
Yeah.
The Arcadia has a big ol' steering wheel. Left to right turn steering wheel.
That's called the helm.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a big left to right turning helm. How does it handle Z movement? Doesn't matter. It looks cool.
Probably
big,
forward back.
We don't see it.
Who knows? Irrelevant.
The physicist in me is like, well, you could actually get it fluttering in space.
Irrelevant.
Depending on because if it's hanging off a rod, that ship's using what appear to be rocket engines, so that's going to be vibration.
Harlock is like Spider-Man Noir. Wherever he goes, the wind follows.
So his cape can flutter dramatically in the wind.
Even in space.
Like, there was a fan comic that somebody did that kind of related to this for Fire Emblem, where it's like one of the main characters, his cape is fluttering dramatically in the wind, and he's like, why aren't all the rest of your capes fluttering dramatically in the wind?
Is it just me? Is it just me?
Like Harlock's got that. And then this is without getting to his other series, is like Galaxy Express 39 and the later Galaxy Railways with space trains.
Why not?
Or the fact that we haven't talked about Queen Elmeraldis yet, but her Elmeraldis' ship, the Queen Elmeraldis, it's a dirigible.
An amazing dirigible.
It's a space dirigible with a classic style pirate ship as
stuck onto it.
Yeah. Yep.
Under the balloon.
It's not under it. That's like the ship itself is the thing, and the dirigible.
And then there's
the balloon is. I have no idea.
It's so great.
Yep.
It's so stupid!
But it's so great!
No, it's just stupid!
This is how we approach things. I'm more rule of cool.
Don't get me wrong, it was cool, but that doesn't make it less stupid.
My head wanted to call it One Piece meets Mobius. You know Mobius, the French comic author? Yeah.
Yep, I absolutely see that this is like the way that some of the ship designs in One Piece are not kind of extra. They're just
very
extra.
It's not.
and
Marines are just. Why is there simple as seagull? Okay, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, and like all the mechanical designs for spaceships in Leiji Matsumoto's stuff are equally just extra. I mean, we mentioned in a previous podcast that you were watching the Yamato 2199, which while it adjusts the plot from the original series, it still sticks with that Leiji Matsumoto ship design aesthetic, which means that you have a space U-boat.
Heck yeah!
This is the space battleship Yamato. Oh. So it was like named after the ship. No, we converted the battleship to fly.
It's like, no, guys, hear me out. These exact things.
How did you convert it?
Space.
We added big ass engine on the back. Ship goes zoom. Now don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. I recognize it's stupid, but I still think it's fun. I will never tell people that their fun is wrong. I will barely tell people that their fun is wrong. I have done it in the past.
Remember when you made me watch Macross for the first time, and the ship turned into a robot? I was like, that's so stupid. And you were like, how dare you?
But it's cool.
We got the exact opposite place.
It's so stupid, but it's like, why does it do that? Well, you see, because when the teleporters
how is that
teleported away, they took shoulder spikes.
This is one of the best things about anime, though, honestly. Which side of the line you come down on between that is so stinking cool and that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Honestly, I think it's most fun when you land on both sides.
Both sides at the same time.
Yeah. And like kind of fitting in with this is like in speaking of that second flashback where they do the call, but where they make the big thing of the bomb site or the gun site, the aircraft gun site, where they come back later like, oh hey, we still have that original gun site over 2,000 years later.
I know. I was like, excuse me.
You have that.
You have a replica?
The replica? No, this is the
lie. Goddamn German engineering.
and it works just fine with the space with the giant space cannons. And
what?
It's because everything.
I don't dislike your design, but I do wonder why you made it World War II compatible. That was a specific design choice. Did you? I mean, it is his thing, so it's entirely, he built the ship, it's entirely possible. It's like, it would be cool. It'll never happen, but it would be so cool if it could.
Everything runs on vibes.
Yeah.
I think the thing that annoyed me about the film the most is the fact that all the women have the exact same body and haircut.
Your face.
Yeah. Harlock, Leiji Matsumoto has a type.
And that type is apparently butterflies.
Apparently, like there was like this one like movie, like European film. I think it was like a French and West German co-production.
Of course, it was French.
That made it to Japan in like the 50s. That he watched, When you're a teenager and you go, this is this is my type now.
Boom, there it is.
Well, I hope this isn't a formative experience, but it was.
Yes, and he said, unfortunately I do not remember the name of the movie. But yeah, basically like, he saw the movie, saw the actress in the movie, and like, that's my type now. And like, you see that character show up basically like almost everything that Leiji Matsumoto is vaguely related to. She's Maytel. She's Emeraldus. She's Starsha in Space Battleship Yamato. She's the bassist in Interstellar 5555.
Amazing.
Saga of the Secret Star System.
Yeah.
Wait, how do I pronounce that? Because all the S's were replaced with 5s.
But yeah, like she's the bassist in that. It's like Leiji Matsumoto has a type, and he puts that type in his movies.
So you think I have commitment issues? Well, the bit would disagree. It's, you know what? Fine. Fair enough, I guess.
I mean,
it's an artistic choice. And not, as some American comic book artists have, a complete inability to draw more than one feminine body type. Or is it?
I don't know. You're giving some of those artists credit that they can draw different male body types.
I mean, it really depends.
I mean, do you know what the difference for Michael Turner between Batman and Superman is?
The haircut.
The costume! They had the same haircut! Bruce Wayne just wore sunglasses. It was the same exact person! They even wore the same suit! The colorist had to do the work!
Blah, blah, turnaround times, whatever.
But yeah, like Harlock, in Harlock 70,
8?
Yes, Harlock 78, like, there are other characters of different body types in there, like the, matron, like, the, like, Warul Dull adult antagonist, level cruelty of, cruel matron of the orphanage, one of the characters is in the original Harlock 78. Like, she has definitely a very different body type.
There's never a good orphanage, is there?
Well, there are occasionally good orphanage. I mean, Kiryu, the Dragon of Dojima, runs a very good orphanage.
There's no good human-run orphanages, are there? All right, stop breaking your brain trying to think of one.
What about the orphanage in Skyrim? Like, yeah, the woman in charge is bad, but it doesn't seem like her replacements after you're hired by the orphans to assassinate her is bad.
Right? You're totally doing a good thing by murdering her.
There's a
You're
good
hired to kill the person in charge of an orphanage? Yeah, but you're being hired by the orphans, so...
There's a good orphanage in a episode of City Hunter that Ryu Saiba gets hired to save from evil real estate developers.
Save the orphanage.
There's an orphanage, the Bajoran orphanage in Deep Space Nine is good.
We hope.
No, it's only in one episode. It's only in for like one bit scene. But everyone seems happy.
Sorry, I sidetracked us with my realization about orphanages.
Yep. I found the name of the actress, by the way. Her name is who is Leiji Matsumoto's type. Her name is Marianne. That's Marianne Hold.
Quick Google search. Okay then. Alrighty.
Yeah. Yep.
She does.
Yeah, her eyebrow game is on point.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
One true love forever.
Indeed. So what else we have for Leiji? The kind of the big Leiji Matsumoto stuff from this. Like the one thing that we didn't get that comes up a fair bit in Leiji Matsumoto's movies and series based on his stuff is unfortunately, we didn't get a song by. Let me pull up the vocalist name. It'd be the actor of the song who did the guy who did the original theme song for Harlock 78. Also passed away this year. But like the closing theme song's okay. Like Ichiro Mizuki. Ichiro Mizuki did his music for like a bunch of other Leiji Matsumoto stuff. Like he did, like he also did like the Galaxy Express 39 original TV show theme, opening and closing theme, among other things. And but sadly he did not do the song for the movie. And a younger, hipper artist. Oh well.
That's weird because the movie's vibes are not young, hip vibes at all.
That ending thing was. It was a choice.
Yeah. It's interesting, like also like the Galaxy Express 39 movie, like the Japanese version had a English language closing theme song as well, which was also interesting choice. But yeah, I was like hoping like, oh, we'd have some Ichiro Mizuki for the closing theme so we could talk about him for a bit, but sadly no.
Not this time.
Why would they make the logical choice?
Yeah.
Maybe he was busy. We don't know.
Well, I guess before we wrap up the Arcadia of My Youth discussion, any other final thoughts about the movie, or like, do you kind of see like how this how this kind of grabbed American anime fans or prospective anime fans from like back in the 80s?
Oh yeah, like I think back in the 80s this is probably amazing. It's just like there's a distance thing. Like the views that were had back then, not the views that are had.
I think the characters hold up. You know, some of the plotting is a little I'm not sure about, but there are some great moments in it for sure.
Harlock is an idiot routinely, but I mean,
I will say, as a woman watching this, it's kind of the typical standard of disappointment for works from that time, where the female characters are very tropey and idealized and exist mostly as plot vehicles for the male lead.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
Yeah, like, if Queen Emeraldis was available for streaming, because that's the series that focuses on Emeraldis and lets her do all the cool badass stuff, lets her be a cool space pirate, I probably would have picked that. But unfortunately, like, Queen Emeraldis isn't available for streaming. Another series, Queen Millennia, which was a more female-focused cast in terms of lead characters, not available for streaming, doesn't have a physical release. Galaxy Express 39 is, but Galaxy Express 39, one, it's super long. It's like 100-something episodes. So also, like the main female protagonist character, Metal, basically kind of serves to be as if you couldn't guess from the name, a kind of maternal mentor figure for the young child lead. It's almost sort of Doctor Who-esque if the main focus of Doctor Who was strictly on the companions.
Interesting.
And had the Doctor as more of an ancillary character. And also the Doctor's TARDIS was, instead of being a police box, was a space train.
Heck yeah. Wait, didn't we see that episode of Doctor Who? Wasn't there a space train episode? I could be wrong.
Yeah, but the space train in Doctor Who wasn't based off a steam locomotive.
More's the pity.
More's the pity.
And I will admit also, look, Doctor Who has been great, has some really good internal TARDIS console room and designs, and some of the Doctors have had some really great costumes.
And the Sixth Doctor.
And the Sixth Doctor, but I'm thinking the Doctor, like, there are some anime or manga creators where I go, I would like to see this creator do a fashion pass on the Doctor and see what they did. Clamp is one of them. Leiji Matsumoto is the other.
That would be great. Oh, and the JoJo's guy. It would be crazy, but I feel like I'd be there for it.
Like, just strictly as a fashion pass. Yeah.
What can I say? I'm a JoJo's stan now, thanks to this podcast.
Speaking of JoJo, and also Jujutsu Kaisen, not only is based off the big bad from Diamond is Unbreakable.
What? I love Nanami so much. Okay.
So
don't say it.
That wraps up. So that wraps up our Arcadia of My Youth discussion. Next month, we will be for Lunar New Year. Once again, we'll be returning to Thunderbolt Fantasy for season 2. Just season 2. We'll be the movie will be covered covered with season 3. Oh, the second movie will be covered with season 3. So just season 2.
I'm already looking forward
to go back and rewatch it. Yay!
I'm so hyped for just the theme song. I haven't heard it in a while.
Yeah, about a year.
It's been playing in my head the whole time, though. Let's be real.
I'll admit, I have, like, the closing theme song from season 2, Roll the Dice, has been living, like, I got my Apple Music rundown of songs you've been listening to over the past year.
Oh, yeah.
That is been up there.
Up there. Rent-free up here in my brain.
But yeah, so that's what we have to look forward to next month. Also, we'll probably talk, since there's going to be a Discotheque Media big announcement day on January 8th. We may talk about that some as well. They say they've got a big announcement coming. I don't know what it's going to be. But normally when they say, like, oh, this is a really big one, we really mean it, then there's usually something, like, really fancy.
For real, you guys.
We found the originals for Eiko.
I mean, like, that was one they did. Was, oh, hey.
I was like, yeah.
And last one was, oh, hey, 4K release of Belladonna of Sadness. Was like, That was our thing. Like, oh, if that's going to get announced, it's going to be announced by the Criterion Collection, by Arrow Digital. No, Discotech got it.
This is your monthly reminder that physical media is incredibly important, and you should support it whenever you can.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Like, for Arcadia of My Youth, I watched that on the Blu-ray the Discotech Media Blu-ray that I got, which has, again, a really, really good audio commentary by Mike Toole.
Okay, we promise we're not shills for Discotech. They just have a lot of really great stuff.
Well, they re-release things that you can't get any other way, so you can add it to your physical media collection, and that is super important, because otherwise we end up with things like entire series that you can't find anywhere.
We are not sponsored by them in any capacity. Although that could change easily if you guys want to sponsor us.
You guys want to call us? Like,
Justin Savakis, call me. and if you do wish to communicate for the discussion for Thunderbolt Fantasy Season 2, or you're from Discotech Media and want to shill, you can email at animeexplorations with 2 E's pod@gmail.com with your questions or comments in terms of about the work that we'll be discussing. And also consider backing the Patreon at patreon.com/count0or. It helps cover hosting costs, which is good.
You should do it, you guys. Alex puts out great content. A lot of great content.
Most of which does not involve us.
That's true. We only annoy you once a month.
Unless you're repeat viewers or listeners. At which point you can be annoyed by us as much as you like.
And we will see you, or hear you, or you will hear us, rather, next month.
Got there in the end. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
And hope you all have happy holidays.
Yep.
Since you're almost past the holiday season.
Here, anyway.
Yes. They don't have holidays anywhere else in the world.
Well, the holiday season is different.
I know.